Okay, I think we can start now. Welcome everyone for this new session. I am Eva, the marketing director at Catenda, and now I will let the floor to Leonardo.
Hi everyone, thanks Eva for the introduction, and thanks for everyone for your interest and taking your time to be part of this live webinar today about how to secure data on an OpenCDE SaaS platform. So my name is Leonardo Cunha. I'm the CTO at Catenda, so I'm responsible for the technology and the engineering teams here. I have a background all in software engineering, and I've been part of Catenda as part of the construction industry for 4.5 years now. I'm originally from Brazil, and I've been living in Oslo in Norway for 14 years now, here in the headquarters of Catenda here in Oslo. Okay, so let's get started. So security is one of the most pressing concerns when it comes to cloud, SaaS, and data management. And at Catenda, it's also a very important concern for us. So although we have openness as a value of the company, it doesn't mean that your data is not protected. It's actually all on the contrary. We have quite strong measures, and that's what we will be talking about today to make sure that your data is safe with us. So before we go into the depths, let's start with what is security? What are we talking about here? So there are two main areas of security that has been there since the beginning of IT. The first one is physical security, where we want to make sure that the servers, all the equipment, the laptops, also the network and the offices is secure, and the access is secure, and there is no mishandling of these physical objects. And the second one is the information and data security, and that's making sure that all the customer data, all the project data, also the personal information and the access control, and also the access to the system, the authentication, that is secured. And in the last decade, I would say that there is more and more emphasis on the information security, because as we know, most information has a high value, and it's the gold in the new era of big data and very sensitive information that we want to protect. So the security has to be in all places so that we can protect the data. And here is a concept that we call in security the weakest link principle, because your security of the whole system is only as strong as the weakest link. Because the weakest link is usually the place where the hackers or the attackers will focus on, because they have finite resources. They don't have so much time to develop, and they would like to focus on something that has low investment for them and a big return. And that will be the weakest link of the whole chain. And that's in many cases in the software components and SaaS platforms, they can also be the people, because most of the time there's a lot of social engineering where you can have the access to people, and through people have some weak links where you can get access to data or to the platform. So in that sense, it's the responsibility for everyone, and that we take as well into Catenda, that security is a culture in the company that everyone is aware of, so that we keep all the links strong. And why do we want to focus on security? Why is this so important? Why it's important to hear about? First, it's important to manage the business risks, not only for Catenda, but especially for our customer. As we're a customer-centric company, we want to manage the risks of trust that the customers have put in us. So by being actively managing the risks, that has a direct implication on having a good security setup. Second, you also want to avoid any data exposure so that the data that is relying on the platform is secure. Then there's also the legal requirements in form of compliance, and GDPR is one of the big drivers of this with regards to personal information, but also all legislations in all countries where we operate. And last but not least, we also have a company value that's quality, and we believe that by working on security and talking about openly, as we're doing today, we're also creating a competitive advantage, because today for any platform that is operating in a SaaS environment, it's important to be aware and doing the best practices in this area. So by talking about it and showing you a bit what the measures we're doing today inside the company, we also believe that we will be showing that we have a competitive advantage towards the other players in the industry. And one important thing to highlight is that security is a shared responsibility. So in this case, Catenda, the SaaS provider, that has a big obligations on securing the two areas that we mentioned, the physical part of the computers and all the network, but also the information, and that's the biggest part of the security. And as we mentioned before, is the responsibility of everyone at the company. But also the customer also have the responsibility of providing security, in the sense that they need to make sure that the access to the platform is secure. For example, that they're not reusing a password that has been leaked, or they're not sharing their password with different people, because that can also compromise the security in the sense of the weakest link that we talked before. And I think it's getting more and more important that customers are also asking about security and making security questions when they are providing and contracting a new SaaS provider. And we do that internally as Catenda as well, as we want to have a good security culture at the whole company. We have the responsibility to make sure that any new vendors that we hire, that we use internally in the company, also follow good security practice. So we have to require that whenever we sign a new vendor. So it's a shared responsibility, but we believe that if we have good practice and we show that we also will be building trust with our customers, which is also the third value of our company. So it's openness, quality, and trust. So what are the security measures we do at Catenda? So we follow best practice, industry practices on the security. So first, we can make an announcement that we had made a strategic decision in Catenda this year to become ISO 27001 certified. So we have already security controls in place, but we're working on ongoing progress to get the official certification on that. So that's a world-known security standard on promoting the best practices around security. So the security practices we already have in place today include, we have a yearly security audit where we have penetration tests. And I can share that last year we did our latest penetration test. We didn't get any high or critical issues on the report. So we got only minor reports that are fixed already. Another control that we have in place that also relates to our quality value is that we do code reviews for all the changes that we do in the product. That means when a developer creates a code, before it goes out into our product, it needs to be code reviewed by another developer. And besides that, we also run tests for all the product changes. So you get a code review. In addition to that, we have automated tests. And when all of these passes, only then a change can go out in production. So these reviews focus on quality, but they also have a check for any security problems, any security issues that could happen during the changes. And we have also procedures to deal with any security incidents that can happen or any data leakage. And these procedures are in place also to conform to the ISO 27001. Yeah, and then I also wanted to highlight the security that we're doing in our products. So that includes all the products that we have in Catenda, including our Open CDE, which is called now Catenda Hub. So on the product security, the points that we can highlight are, we have single sign-on, so that allows that any customer can log in with their own identity provider on our Open CDE. So for example, if you're using Microsoft Azure AD or any other single sign-on part that you're using inside your company, you can reuse that to access the Catenda products, and that helps on the security on the access level. So that's something we have available for our enterprise customers. We also provide multi-factor authentication. So that is, in addition to requiring only a password, you can set up in our Catenda Hub that you also need a one-time based password. So code in addition to the original password, and that also strengthens the access to the platform. And we have also access control levels. So we have ACL for users and teams. So you can define that users and teams have the right access controls to documents, so that only the right people have access to the documents that have been selected. And as an example, if you're working in a construction project and you have contractors, you can make a team for those contractors and make sure that only documents that are related and are needed by the contractor are seen by the contractor. So that access control makes sure that the information is only accessed by these people who have a need on it. You can also make an announcement that we're also working straight from the oven. We're also adding now access control to issues. So that means now that we will be able to control who is able to close an issue as part of the workflow in your projects. So that's a feature that's not released yet, but it's coming out, and it's also adding to this security level on who can do what function inside the products. Yes, so this was kind of a short workaround on what we have in Catenda as part of our security setup. I want just to highlight that, hope that you get like a better understanding of what we do behind the scenes, that we're doing very strong and doing a lot of hard work to really make sure that your data is safe with us. And with that, I would like to close the presentation and open up for questions.
Thank you, Leo. We have a first question regarding some certification. Do we have the intention to, to add more certification regarding security for Catenda? For Catenda, the product.
Yeah, so for now, we're actively working on the ISO 27001 certification. That's for Catenda, but our cloud provider, so we're working on AWS, on Amazon, that has several other certifications. And we're also working now on an environmental certification. So that's also quite important for Catenda, and looking into the future so that we make sure that we are a sustainable company in the future. But that's another certification that's not so related to security, but it's also, these are the two certifications that are ongoing.
Okay, great. Actually, someone is asking about where the data is stored. So I think you just mentioned that, but
yeah, I can just say another word on that all our data is stored in Europe. So we stored it in Europe in multiple locations, but yeah, it's all in Europe.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone who has joined this webinar, and thank you, Leo.
Yeah, thank you very much for everyone joining as well, and thanks for this.
See you in a next live session, and have a nice day.